I'd next like to introduce Blair Milo. Blair serves as the state of Indiana's first Secretary for Career Connections and Talent. And her goal is to enable Indiana to fill all the job openings over the next 10 years. Prior to becoming the Secretary for Career Connections and Talent, Blair was the mayor of LaPorte, Indiana, where she created over 1,100 new jobs and $260 million in new investment. She was named Elected Official of the Year in 2017 by the Indiana Parks and Recreation Association. So without further ado, Blair Milo.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for the opportunity to join you. It's a treat to be able to share a few of the things that we are learning, and a great opportunity. I appreciate all of the comments that Jody just mentioned and the tremendous work that Titmon REMC and so many others are doing across the state to be able to adapt to some unprecedented times that are also creating some really creative innovations and opportunity moving forward. And as we started this morning, I've been fascinated reading all of the research about TP cubed, and thought I would share a little bit around sort of the people side of the house, as I have the opportunity to work with a number of incredible leaders in the workforce and education space to think about how we are attracting, developing, and connecting talent. And specifically thought I would share just some key points this morning, thinking about some of the new normal of hiring processes, and not just the onboarding piece and interview aspect of things, but really kind of a fuller, more holistic spectrum of how we are attracting, developing, and connecting talent to different types of career opportunities, certainly specifically in the manufacturing realm as we think this morning. And kind of three areas that I thought I would touch on specifically is thinking a little bit about understanding and addressing some of the fear and anxiety that exists right now within the workforce, and some of the challenges that we can face from that capacity. Understanding some of the access challenges for folks to be able to connect up to different kinds of work opportunities. And then understanding some of the needs for the different types of skills-based hiring practices, and developing talent along the way to be able to take advantage of different types of job opportunities. Just these are pieces that certainly were in play prior to COVID-19 invading many spaces of our lives, but have really, I think, been exacerbated in many ways by some of the pandemic elements. And so there's some really great research that Strata Education has been doing, that each week they are doing a different survey with about 1,000 participants across the country in some really key areas. And some of the information that they recently released, and this was actually, this one, I think it was their latest one that they came out with, that they were able to survey 1,000 adults that have either high school diploma or without, that don't have degrees. And across their survey, they saw that 50% of the individuals that they'd surveyed worry about health and safety, and they classified it as a high worry. And so coming with some of those pieces, I think as we think about the new normal of hiring, and many conversations that I've been having with employers and hiring directors have really focused on how do we address some of the anxiety that is felt by a number of individuals that comes from a wide variety of sources, from not knowing some of the new normals that we're all in, understanding different norms of society, but also understanding what kinds of safety measures are in place, particularly if somebody was going to be moving into a new position or even a new career area, to then have some sort of sense of security, that there are the appropriate safety measures that are being put into place if somebody is moving into some of those spaces, especially for people that are of higher age categories or have other underlying conditions that, or have family members close to them that may have underlying health conditions that are impacted by COVID-19. And so what I've been hearing from a number of hiring managers and HR leaders is really trying to get in front of that conversation is crucial right now for individuals to then be able to take some of these next steps for being able to come into the workplace or into new workplaces or new career fields. And some additional areas of anxiety that we've seen come from just a lot of the economic challenges that many individuals are facing. And so again, with some of the Strata survey, that then they saw that for, again, individuals without degrees, they are worried about finding a satisfying career. 50% were worried about having a steady paycheck or a source of income. I mentioned that 50% were worried about health and safety. 47% who worry a lot or quite a bit about paying rent or their mortgage. 46% who worry a lot or quite a bit about having enough to eat. And then 44% who were worried a lot or quite a bit about finding a job and career I love. They also did a survey where they were seeing that looking at individuals' abilities to pay bills or take care of immediate needs. And what we're seeing is that in the latest survey that they released of individuals without a degree, 33% were very concerned about the ability to pay bills and take care of their immediate needs. And so that just gives, I think, a little bit of an indication of, Jody talked a lot about some of where our workforce was at prior to COVID-19 and now where we are. And certainly the Indiana has seen continued growth with people coming back to work and new jobs being created. And so there are definitely good news stories to be had there. And so then we come into this question then of the people side of things, of how are we ensuring that we're connecting people to those opportunities by addressing some of these different kinds of challenges that have been presented to us with some of 2020 and the pandemic that has come forward. And so the last piece that I would focus on a little bit is thinking some more about some of those challenges that we saw beforehand that are really opportunities as well. And it's similar to how Jody talked about that the need for internet connectivity had been more of a want, but then became desperately needed. That then I think there's an equal opportunity for us to really rapidly scale some of the chances for people to develop different types of skills to be able to serve in really dynamic career opportunities, particularly in the manufacturing sector. And so some of the key pieces towards being able to access this talent has been really trying to itemize what some of the skills are that somebody needs to have, that they truly need to have for different types of positions, being able to communicate a little bit of what some of the culture is of the organization and the workspace. That ties in a little bit to some of those previous concerns that folks had about the health and safety measures. And so just understanding some more of the culture elements there can be really critical. But as there are opportunities to create methods for folks to be able to gain some skills while they are earning some wages and moving into different types of positions within the company, seeing a mobility trajectory for joining the organization, I think is also a really valuable opportunity for both the employer and the individual that would be coming on board. And so to the extent that there are opportunities for folks to be able to know what skills they need to have, that they truly need to have, and I certainly have done this in the past as a person who was trying to hire individuals, that as I've written out a job description, then I write all the different things that I would really love for somebody to have of skills and experience and educational background to be able to serve in a type of position. not necessarily thinking about how if somebody doesn't have everything that I've listed out on that job description, then that might be a deterrent for a really qualified candidate who meets, maybe 75%, 95% even of everything that's written on that job description. And so really trying to be much more intentional about the language that I was using to then communicate what the opportunity is for someone to come into my workplace. And so really being intentional about that process. And then for individuals who may not necessarily have those skills that I was looking for, to think about how might we develop them along the way so that then we can take advantage of the really great experiences or work ethic that an individual has to be able to move the mission along. And if you think about those pieces of the challenges that many individuals are facing today, of a concern of being able to pay their bills and meet immediate needs, there's a critical need to be able to earn some wages that many folks don't have the ability to stop doing some sort of work to be able to gain additional skills to grow into a larger type of career field. And so when we can create opportunities for folks to earn wages while they're learning different types of skills and growing their career development from as early of a stage as possible, then whether it's starting with some of the youngsters in our schools or entry-level positions for folks to be able to learn. For some places, we've seen some incredible examples of getting a high school equivalency or getting a high school diploma while also working or moving into getting career certificates, 2-year degrees, 4-year degrees. I know Purdue has partnered with many different employers to be able to create these different types of skill building opportunities for individuals. Those kinds of opportunities, I think, are, like I said, even more critical than they were prior to March of this year, because of the considerable need that people have to meet everyday demands, which you just heard a little bit of the data around. And so when we can provide those kinds of learning opportunities, address some of the anxiety that folks have from a health and safety standpoint, and communicating that there is access points here. The other piece that I would mention with some of the access points is that, I've spent a fair bit of time over the past few months trying to have a lot more conversations in places where we're seeing higher levels of unemployment, and to understand what kinds of dynamics that individuals are facing in those certain circumstances. And in a number of places, when I would chat about, different kinds of education and employment opportunities, then oftentimes the question would come up of, well, but how can we have a conversation about internet connectivity, to Jody's points earlier, or transportation? And so there's a number of just some sort of wraparound types of components that people are having to address to be able to take advantage of different types of career opportunities that, as I mentioned, we do see growing across the state of Indiana. And so to the extent that we can have employers engaged in developing these types of solutions to access to the talent, to connect, develop, and attract the talent overall, is really critical for us moving forward, for not only the state, but for employers and for individuals. The good news is that, we see a tremendous amount of innovation taking place, and so many exemplary employers who are doing really creative things to be able to connect to individuals, and many in the manufacturing sector. And these are big employers, small employers as well. A lot of times the smaller employers are collaborating to be able to provide sort of shared services amongst one another. And we've certainly got some great organizations who are helping to lead those kinds of efforts. And to the extent that we can continue to collaborate on all of these different areas, I think will be critical for us for the near term and the longer term future, as we continue to think about, another piece of the T part of your TP cubed of the technology, as technology is going to continue to influence how we connect to talent, how we attract, develop, and connect talent overall, with whatever new kinds of innovations come forward. And so greatly appreciate the opportunity to join you all this morning to share a little bit of those insights. And the last thing that I will close out with is to just not only encourage thinking a little bit about, the fear and anxiety pieces and the opportunity to develop the talent as we're attracting them to our different places of employment, is also recognizing that we're all learning in this space of, what the impact of different types of learning models are for individuals across all ages. And so especially as we see, a wide variety of learning experiences for school age children, that the need for different types of schedule flexibility pieces for individuals, whether they're single parents or, a two-parent household where both parents work, and you have different needs of youngsters being able to do e-learning and having somebody who is in the home and having some flexibility, that we've seen that as a key opportunity for folks to be able to stay in the workforce and for employers to be able to retain individuals. That looks different for every type of position. Some positions can't offer that kind of flexibility, understandably, but to the extent that there is some different ways to address just those changing schedule elements that are sort of the reality of what we're facing at the moment, and that are exacerbated by some of the COVID pieces right now, but certainly have been felt by families, I think, in many different ways for many years. And so that can be another piece of what kinds of new normals within the hiring process can be addressed and communicated as far as attracting talent to different kinds of opportunities. So again, thank you for the work that you're doing in this space, for the opportunity to share a little bit of what we're learning, and I'll be excited to take any kinds of questions when we open it up, I think, in just a couple of minutes.